Alright, it's Barry, and today on Grow It I've got a complete guide to soil pH, and in this guide I'll cover everything that you need to know about soil pH, including what it is, why it's important, the different types of soil that you're likely to come across in your garden, how to test your own soil pH, and how to adjust your pH once you have those results. We'll also explore the different pH preferences for some popular fruit and vegetable plants, and I'll be looking at a couple of different ways to test your soil pH, including using soil pH probes and reagent test kits. So whether you're an experienced gardener or a complete novice, this guide will provide you with all of the knowledge and tools that you'll need to create the ideal growing conditions for all of your plants. Soil pH is a super important aspect of soil chemistry and one of the most important factors that determine the overall health and productivity of plants. It's a measure of the concentration of hydrogen ions in the soil solution, which determines the soil's acidity or alkalinity. The pH scale ranges from 0 to 14, with 7 right in the middle being neutral. A soil with a pH value below 7 is acidic, and a soil with a pH value above 7 is alkaline. Soil pH is such an essential factor because it affects various chemical and biological processes in the soil, which in turn influence the availability of nutrients and other essential elements for plant growth, which I'll get onto in a second. Soil pH can also have a significant impact on the microorganisms that are present in the soil, which are responsible for breaking down that organic matter, cycling nutrients and promoting plant growth. So just going back to those nutrients, the acidity or the alkalinity of the soil has a massive effect on the plant's growth and eventual productivity because the availability of certain nutrients in the soil is affected by its pH. So, for example, for most plants, they require nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium for growth. But the availability of these nutrients in the soil can be greatly influenced by its pH. So, as an example, when the pH of the soil is too low, the availability of phosphorus and potassium decreases, making it more difficult for plants to access those nutrients, which really isn't good for them. Additionally, on top of those big three nutrients, pH can affect the uptake of micronutrients such as iron and zinc and manganese, which are just as essential for plant growth and development as the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. In some cases, high soil pH levels can lead to the accumulation of certain elements, making them toxic to plants. So, as an example, at high pH levels, aluminium ions become more soluble and they can accumulate in the soil, leading to toxicity that can then dramatically stunt plant growth and decrease fruit and vegetable yields. So that's why it's really important that we do get the pH right. One of the most important things to remember when you're putting your plants into the soil is that different plant species have different pH requirements. So some plants prefer acidic soils and others prefer alkaline soils. But most plants prefer to grow in generally slightly acidic to neutral soils with a pH range of 6 to 7.5. Knowing the pH requirements of specific plants can help you to adjust the soil pH to create an ideal growing environment. I'm going to be going over some popular fruit and vegetable plant pH requirements later on in this video. Your soil type can affect your soil pH and the way that pH treatments work, so it's important to work out which kind you have first of all, and I'll try and keep that pretty basic for this video. Soil is a complex mixture of mineral particles, organic matter, water and air, and the composition can vary massively depending on your location and your different environmental factors. There's many different types of soil and each has its own unique characteristics and properties. Understanding the different types of soil and being able to identify your own is an essential starting point for understanding how to manage soil fertility and help your plants grow and reach the maximum potential. The soil texture triangle is the easiest way to reference the different soil types and see how each component affects the soil type itself. It has the most common soil types, which you can see differ based on percentage content of each of the three main particle sizes in the soil, which are sand, silt and clay, with clay being the smallest size particles, silt being the middle and sand being the largest particles. The triangle's useful as a bit of a reference guide just to understand the different types, but you need to use some expensive analytical equipment just to actually use it properly. So I'll leave a link in the description for a guide to finding your own soil type with some simple tests that you can do at home. And in the meantime, here's the three most common soil types. Sandy soil is composed of large mineral particles that have a low water holding capacity and low nutrient content. Sandy soil can often be referred to as light soil due to its low density, which makes it easy to work with. However, it is low water holding, and that means that it dries out really quickly and requires frequent watering. Its low nutrient content requires a lot more fertilization as well. Sandy soil is commonly found in coastal areas and desert regions, and that's pretty much what I've got here. Clay soil is composed of fine mineral particles that have a high water holding capacity and a high nutrient content. Clay soil is also often referred to as heavy soil due to its high density, which is what makes it difficult to work with. Its high water holding capacity means that it retains moisture for a long time, and its high nutrient content means that it requires less frequent fertilization. Clay soil is commonly found in regions with high rainfall, and it's often associated with slow drainage. And loamy soil is a mixture of sand, clay and silt particles, and it's considered the ideal soil type for gardening and agriculture. Loamy soil has a good water holding capacity and nutrient content, and it's easy to work with. Its balanced composition of mineral particles allows for proper drainage and aeration and provides a suitable environment for a wide range of plant species. Loamy soil is commonly found in areas with moderate rainfall and can be improved with the addition of organic matter. Let me know in the comment section what your soil type is wherever you are in the world, because I always find it interesting seeing what conditions you have to deal with to grow your fruits and vegetables around the world. Soil testing is essential for promoting healthy plant growth and maximising crop yields because it provides valuable information about the soil's nutrient content, the pH level, organic matter content and other important characteristics which can help growers make informed decisions about fertilisation, soil amendments and other soil management practices. One of the primary reasons for soil testing is to determine the nutrient content of the soil. Plants require a range of nutrients for growth, so we've already mentioned nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Those micronutrients, we've got calcium, magnesium and we've got sulfur among others. Soil testing can provide valuable information about the levels of these nutrients in the soil, which can help growers determine which nutrients may be deficient and require supplementation. I'll be covering pH testing in this video, but I'll make another complete video on its own about nutrient testing soon, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel to make sure that you don't miss that one. Right, before we start testing the soil, it's probably best to know what we're actually looking for, so here's some common fruit and vegetable plants and the soil pH preferences. Tomatoes prefer a slightly acidic soil with a pH range of 6 to 6.8. If the soil's too acidic or too alkaline, it can lead to nutrient deficiencies and reduced tomato yields. Potatoes grow best in slightly acidic to neutral soil with a pH range of 5 to 7. If the soil's too acidic, potatoes may develop potato scab, which is a common fungal disease that affects the appearance and the quality of your potato tubers. Strawberry plants also prefer slightly acidic soil with a pH range of 5.5 to 6.5. Again, if it's too alkaline, it'll reduce fruit formation. Carrots grow best in neutral to slightly acidic soil with a pH range of 6 to 7. If the soil's too acidic or alkaline, it can lead to stunted growth and malformed carrots. Pepper plants prefer slightly acidic to neutral soil with a pH range of 6 to 7. If the soil's too acidic or alkaline, it can lead to blossom end rot, which is a disorder that affects the fruit quality and the appearance. Apple trees grow best in slightly acidic to neutral soil with a pH range of 6 to 7. And finally, blueberries prefer acidic soil with a pH range of 4.5 to 5.5. Acidic soil provides the ideal conditions for blueberries to absorb essential nutrients such as iron, which are not available in alkaline soil. I've planted some blueberry plants in the polytunnel this week that I bought on impulse, so I need to test the soil in there, where they're planted, and most likely reduce the pH in that area. So I'm going to have a look at that as well in a minute. There are several methods for testing soil pH, each with its own advantages and disadvantages. The two most common methods are using a soil pH probe and using a reagent test kit. Soil pH probes are a popular method for testing soil pH as they provide a quick and accurate result. These probes work by inserting a metal electrode into the soil and measuring the voltage that's produced by the reaction between the electrode and the soil solution. The voltage reading is then converted into a pH value using an internal circuit. Soil pH probes are relatively easy to use and they don't require any special skills or knowledge. But good quality, accurate soil pH probes can be expensive and they may require regular calibration to maintain their accuracy. Additionally, they may not work well in soils with high salt or organic matter content, as these can interfere with the electrical conductivity of the soil. There's some much cheaper soil pH testing probes that you can usually see in garden centres that look a bit like this. And looking at the reviews for this type of probe, they're a bit hit and miss as far as their accuracy goes. So I picked one of these up just to test whether it's actually accurate, or at least if it's useful as a bit of a rough indicator. So we'll put that to the test as well. And then we've got reagent test kits like this thing, and they're another common method for testing your soil pH. These kits typically come with a small test tube, a colour chart and a pH indicator solution. So to use that reagent test kit, you just use a small amount of soil, which gets mixed with a bit of water in that test tube, and then a few drops of the pH indicator solution are added into it, and then the colour of the solution changes, and then you can compare that to a bit of a chart that they give you just to determine the pH value of the soil. They're relatively inexpensive and they can provide pretty accurate results if they're used correctly. They're also really easy to use and they can be used to test your soil pH anywhere. So I've got this probe and the reagent test kit, which I'll leave links for in the description in case you want to pick some of those up for yourself. Let's use both of these methods to test the soil pH for my blueberry plants, and then I'll look at the different products that are available to increase or lower the pH of the soil. Right, so here we go. We've got our two methods for testing today. We've got this thing. I picked it up off Amazon. I think it was like £8 or something. And it's got a couple of plant species and what have you on the back. Not sure what that information refers to. A moisture light and reading chart. I'm not really interested in that sort of stuff. So instructions. So soil pH is what we're looking for. And that says, push the switch to the right, insert the probe deeply into the soil. A pH reading greater than 7 is alkaline, reading less than 7 is acidic. Most indoor plants prefer a slightly acidic soil with a pH between 6.5 and 7. Soil that's highly alkaline will cause the leaves to lose the colour and stunt the growth of the plant, and acidic soil will cause the leaves to wilt and drop. It's not really, I suppose in this context it's probably helpful, but not massively. Yeah, and that's all that you get with that. So let's have a look at this thing. Sorry, the lighting's not ideal because it's pretty early in the morning. So let's knock that to pH, and it's just got these two electrical probes on it, and as we mentioned, this is just going to measure the difference in the electrical conductivity between the actual soil itself as it's traveling between the two probes. So we'll try that, we'll see how that works. And then we've also got this reagent test kit. I got this off eBay because it was actually cheaper than getting it from the garden centre. It was like half the price. I paid £13 for this on eBay. It arrived, it had leaked everywhere as well, which wasn't brilliant, but this has got your pH test, and it's also got the nutrient test as well for nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So I'm going to be using those as well at some point to test how much of those nutrients we've got where my tomatoes are growing. And just in the top of this, it's got a little instruction kit, and then it's got your testing powders. I like that they've used the little acrylic paint pots. They're good. And then we've got some little tiny spoons, and then a little pipette for some dripping some water in, and then those instructions, you can get them out. So in here we've got all of our colour guides there. They all work on the same sort of principle, just checking different colours. So, oh, that's good. That could have saved me a job. We've got a a pH list there for all the different plants and things, some common different plants, which is quite handy. And then it's got how to do the tests and everything. So this is quite good actually. It's got we've mentioned the different types of soil. So it's got the how to increase the soil alkalinity, and we've got one for reducing the acidity and everything. So that's really nice. It shows you how to use it for doing lawns. So yeah, that's quite handy. Keep that in there. And then also in here, we've got our little test tube and our pH test solution, which is half missing. So I'll stick them at the side. We don't need all of that. So all I need now is a soil sample. I'm going to go over to the polytunnel to the blueberries. I'll stick this thing in there while we're doing that, and then we'll go back and check on it in a bit. But apart from that, we are ready to go. So here we are at the blueberries. I've got 2 that I've put in here up to now. And basically I'm just going to test some of the soil from this area. I've got a plastic tub. What we need to do is get some of this soil. Don't need too much of it. Stick that in there. And now I need to add 4 times the amount of water to that amount of soil, which I'm just going to go measure out now. I've got a little measuring thing, so I'm going to measure that out. We've got 4 times the amount of that. So say we've got 10 grams of soil there, we're going to need to add 40 grams or 40 millilitres of water. And that needs to ideally be distilled water or rainwater, and then failing that, tap water. But let's go and give that a mix. So here we go, we've got the soil in the tub and I've given it a quick weigh, and that comes to 60 grams in there. So that means we need 240 millilitres of water. So it's 1 part soil to 4 parts water. So we're just going to pour in 3 of these cups, which are 80 millilitres each, and that'll be 240 millilitres. It had a piece of wood in it, so I've taken that out. We don't need that in, just the soil. There we go. We need to leave that and let that settle. It can take quite a while. It might take half an hour, it might take a day, but basically we need to let the soil actually settle back down to the bottom in that tub. So we've just got the clear water left at the top again. So we're just going to leave that. While that's doing what it's doing, I'll go and stick that other probe into the soil over there, and I'll probably give my plants a water, come back in a bit and we'll see how that's getting on. Back again at the blueberry plants, and I've got this probe thing. Let's take that plastic off the front if I can get it off. There we go. Pick that up in a minute. Right, so we've got it set to pH. Let's have a look at what it says for light actually. Dark, 2 to 500. Yeah, I don't know. Right, so let's get set to pH. And I'm just going to stick that right in there. Try somewhere else, it's hit something. There we go, that's better. So that's right down into the soil. We'll see how that gets on. So I'm just trying to work that out. I can't see it because it's so low down because it's stuck in the soil. But I think it's saying 6. I'm not sure whether that needs leaving in for a bit, so we'll leave it in. See how it looks when we come back in a bit when we've done the other test. Or tomorrow, depending on how quickly that stuff settles, so we'll see. Right, and here we go. This has been here now for around 8 hours. The soil has settled right down to the bottom, and it's just left the water just at the top there. It's still cloudy, which the instructions say is fine. There is still some soil and everything suspended in there. So the first step that we need to do is get our little pipette, and we're going to use the fresh test tube and fill that up to the 3 milliliter mark. So let's have a look where that is. So that's just there. So let's try and get this without getting loads of soil in there. That's actually get that to focus. That's actually not too bad. It's a bit cleaner than I actually thought it was looking at it straight down. So let's do this. It's going to take a couple of goes at this. One more should do it. There we go. So we've now got 3 millilitres of the water in there from the soil solution. So we can get rid of that now. And the next thing we need to do is add 0.5 milliliter of this pH test solution. So I'll do that on the desk so it's a bit more accurate. So we want to go between the 3 and the 4 milliliter mark. Right, here we go. And you have to ignore the state of the windows in the background. They haven't been cleaned this year yet, so they're absolutely filthy, but that's not what we're here to look at. So we've got our pH test solution, and I'm just going to add that in drops until it's halfway between the 3 and the 4 marker. Which is about there. This is why it's a bit of a pain that this is leaked, because that's not going to go very far. And then the next thing we want to do is add one of these little teaspoons of the pH powder, which is in the first pot. I'll just open that so it doesn't go everywhere. So I hope I've had the spoon the right way around. One of these little tiny spoons. Do this without dropping it. There we go, that is in there. Close the lid on that so I don't lose it. And then we just need to add the lid onto there and give it a good shake for about 30 seconds. There we go. And now I just need to leave that for 5 minutes to allow all of this powder to settle. And unless this is going to change already, that looks like it's going to be fairly alkaline. So yeah, not brilliant for my blueberries, so I am going to have to treat that. I mean, even just looking at it now compared to the chart, it's right up there with the 7.5, possibly even further. So I'll let that settle and then we'll compare it to the picture again if we need to. And that is done. So there we go, that has had 5 minutes now to settle, and nothing's really changed there, has it? It is still really quite dark, and it's definitely above 7.5 according to that. I'm not 100% sure that everything's gone right there. That seems really, really quite high. I was expecting it to be maybe slightly acidic. I will do a retest just before I blast it with loads of sulfur, just to be on the safe side, really. It is the first time I've tested that soil in there, and it is the first time I've actually planted anything in the polytunnel. Before now, I've been using grow bags in there because it's been covered over while all the grass and everything underneath died. So it is the first time I've used that soil, and maybe someone's already pre-treated it in the past and really blasted it with some lime, and it has got loads of brick and stuff in there and loads of clay. So I don't know if that's had maybe some effects. But yeah, I'll give it another retest just to be safe before I treat it. But that is what it is showing, that it is alkaline, so it definitely does need some sulfuric kind of treatment going in there to reduce that right down to, we want it to be around there. So we'll see how that goes, and then hopefully my blueberries will be very happy. And here we go, just checking back on this one, and before I tapped it, it was saying that it was 7 on the pH scale, which is the one at the bottom there, and it is indicating that it is alkaline. So maybe the results are right, and it's a lot more alkaline than I thought it was. Yeah, I'm actually fairly surprised that this has come quite close to the other one. So that's actually done a pretty good job. I'll leave a link for this one in the description just in case you want to maybe try that out for yourself. Like I said, I think it was £7 or £8. I've seen them for £7 in Wilko, and I think they're around that price in the garden centre as well. So, I mean, they're the sort of the old-fashioned, tried and tested one, aren't they? So, if you do want to give a go at testing your pH without having all the mess about with all the without all the testing and everything, this is probably going to be the way to go. So, yeah, it's done a pretty good job there. So that's the test done. Next, we need to have a look at a couple of soil treatment products that we can use to adjust the pH of the soil. First, we'll look at ways that we can lower the soil pH and make it more acidic. And the most common way to achieve this for gardeners is to add a sulfur-based product to the soil. One of these products is sulfate of ammonia. Sulfate of ammonia, which is also known as ammonium sulfate, is a nitrogen-rich fertilizer that is water-soluble salt composed of aluminium and sulfate ions. Aluminium sulfate is created through a chemical reaction between ammonia and sulfuric acid. In fact, the ammonia used in the process, it can come from a variety of different sources, including natural gas or biogas, and the sulfuric acid comes from a byproduct of industrial processes making metal and things like that. Once it's gone through all of that, ammonium sulfate is typically sold in a granular form, although it can be found in liquid form. It has a high nitrogen content of around 21%, which makes it really popular choice for promoting healthy plant growth, particularly in plants that have a lot of leaf and stem growth, like brassicas, rhubarb, onions, and leeks. One of the benefits of using ammonium sulfate as a fertilizer is it provides both nitrogen and sulfur, which, as we've addressed, are two essential nutrients for plant growth. Nitrogen is important for the development of leaves and stems, while sulfur is important for the formation of proteins and enzymes within the plant. In addition to its nutrient content, ammonium sulfate is also beneficial for its ability to lower soil pH, which is what we're looking for. It's called an acidifying fertilizer, which means that it can help reduce soil alkalinity and make certain nutrients more available to the plants. This can be particularly useful for plants that prefer acidic soil conditions, like my blueberries. Despite all of these benefits, it is important to use ammonium sulfate with caution, as over-application can lead to nitrogen toxicity and damage to plant roots. So now that we've established how we can reduce the soil pH, what about increasing it? Maybe you need alkaline soil, or you have overly acidic soil that needs neutralizing. Lime is a popular soil amendment that is used to increase soil pH levels. It's a natural product that's made from crushed limestone or chalk rock, and it contains high levels of calcium and magnesium. And when it's applied to your soil, lime reacts with water and releases hydroxide ions, which help neutralize that acidic soil and raise its pH level. This can be particularly beneficial for plants that prefer alkaline soil conditions, such as brassicas like cabbages, cauliflowers, and broccoli. Once you have your soil pH and you've consulted the instructions on your lime product to determine the appropriate amount of lime to add, it can be applied to the soil using a spreader or by hand. It's important to distribute the lime evenly over the soil surface and work it into the soil to a depth of at least 15 centimetres or 6 inches. After applying the lime to your soil, it's important to retest the pH levels periodically to ensure that the soil pH remains within the appropriate range for your plants. So there we go. Hopefully now you have all of the information that you need to successfully test your soil pH and adjust it to make sure that you have loads of happy plants. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with all of my video guides and help you get the most out of your growing space, no matter how big or small it is. And I'll see you next time.